of the most interesting things to us as we battle illegal immigration is that our opponents span the ideological divide. Right and left hate us equally, for different reasons, but there really is no good guy in this fight at the partisan level. 2 weeks ago, after the third and final installment of the Reconquista series, we found an interesting comment beneath that posting. I'm still trying to figure out what the agenda is here with this YouTube report. It is horribly socialist, almost Marxist in scope. Is this anti-immigration or pro-Barack Obama? What on earth is going on here? Is it conservative? If so, it proves there are some conservatives who have become so conservative that they're turning socialist. Us? Socialists? We ended up having a lengthy discussion with this individual via email, and they never would say why exactly we are Marxists or socialists, except to insist that we are agitating for bigger government and demonizing big business. Well, we're not sure where they got the idea that we want bigger government. Of more interest to us is the other claim, that we are demonizing business by noting when they either break the law or work against the best interests of Americans by weakening our border security and making it harder to get illegal aliens out of this country. This is a particular failure of the right, in our opinion, the worship of big business. Folks on the right jump to quote Adam Smith at length when it comes to the invisible hand. Yet they seem to be less versed in other, less flattering things he had to say about businessmen. Like what? How about this? People of the same trade seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public, or in some contrivance to raise prices. Or allow me to paraphrase a lengthier passage. Smith says that businessmen will always seek to narrow competition, that we should be vigilant and suspicious when they propose laws to regulate commerce, and that not only is their interest never the same as that of the public, but that their interests and actions are to deceive and oppress the public. In that final piece on Reconquista, we talked about how big business launders money through various front groups to support their open borders agenda. One group we didn't make room to mention was the National Chamber of Commerce. During the amnesty debates, they cobbled together a bogus grassroots organization called the Essential Worker Immigration Coalition to create the false impression that Americans supported an amnesty. In their efforts to thwart Hazleton, Pennsylvania's attempt to get local control over illegal immigration, they were willing to, note the irony here, crawl into bed with actual communists and socialists in their insane effort to keep the steady stream of low-wage illegal alien slaves flowing to their constituents. That isn't a legitimate business function, folks. It's aiding and abetting. The bottom line is this. No matter where you fall in the ideological spectrum, if we see you selling this country out for profit, we're going to call you on it. That's just how the Marxists and socialists that make this show roll. The victim, a 4-year-old Virginia girl. The accused, Julio Cesar Huaman Usca, 24, an illegal alien from Peru. The charges, rape and aggravated sexual battery. The story. Last Tuesday evening, Huaman Usca was babysitting the 4-year-old girl and her sister, who are his distant relatives. The girl's parents contacted police immediately upon learning of the attack. An investigation into the allegations resulted in Huaman Usca's arrest and the filing of charges. The local NBC station actually made mention of why the authorities were able to determine that this scumbag is in the country illegally. Prince William's strict immigration policy took effect earlier this month. It allows law enforcement officials to check the citizenship status of anyone suspected of committing a crime. It's a good step in the right direction, away from sanctuary policies in cities like our own Chicago, where police are forbidden to inquire about a suspect's immigration status. Police should be not permitted, but required to ask a suspect. Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Huaman Usca wouldn't have been here in the first place to rape an innocent 4-year-old girl. And that makes this crime what? 100% preventable. The victim, Jamil Shaw Jr., 17, of Los Angeles, California. The accused, Pedro Espinoza, 19, an illegal alien. The charge: murder. The story: Jamil Shaw was walking home from the mall on the evening of March 2nd when a carload of gang members pulled up and asked if he was a gang member too. Authorities say that before he had a chance to answer, and the answer was no, Espinoza jumped out of the car and shot him dead. Shaw's father, hearing the shots, ran outside to find his murdered son beside a tree they had planted together 3 years before as part of the city's Million Trees initiative. Shaw's mother, Anita, an Army sergeant, was notified of Jamil's death in Iraq, where she was serving our country on a second tour of duty. Jamil was a standout running back at Los Angeles High School and had been approached by recruiters at Stanford and Rutgers. He had been named MVP at Los Angeles and was the Southern League's MVP in 2007. Jamil was laid to rest after an emotional funeral attended by his teammates who honored him in their blue and white jerseys. LA Police Chief William Bratton described Espinoza as a documented member of the violent 18th Street Gang, and police have learned that he's in the country illegally. ICE has placed an immigration hold on him, meaning he'll be eligible for deportation if he ever gets out of jail. But he had already served time for assault with a deadly weapon, and that begs this question: why the hell wasn't he detained for deportation when he was released by the Los Angeles County Jail the day before he murdered Jamil? Of course, if our government was doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Espinoza wouldn't have been here to commit the first violent crime, and he certainly wouldn't have been here to be released onto our streets to gun down a gifted 17-year-old American named Jamil Shaw. And that makes this crime what? 100% preventable. On the evening of March 18th, a black Chevy Tahoe pulled up in a residential neighborhood. Several men exited the vehicle, brandishing AK-47 type assault rifles, and began looking for someone or something. The men were described as looking vaguely like police with body armor and police-style gun belts. No one knows if she was who they were looking for, but the men grabbed 13-year-old Marquisia Thomas, pulled her into the truck, and drove away. Any guess where this happened? Mexico? Colombia? Try Phoenix. Yes, our Phoenix. An Amber Alert was issued, and thankfully Marquisia was released, although she suffered bumps and bruises from being struck by her captors. But that's not the real story. Kidnapping was a dead crime in America. We poured serious resources into ending this scourge, and because we are a nation of laws, it had been all but eradicated. Unfortunately, the steady flow of invaders streaming across our borders haven't gotten the memo. Kidnapping is quite popular in Mexico, with one occurring about every 6 hours. As any fool could predict, when you let a tenth of that country's citizens reside in this one, we get more than Press One for English, mariachi bands, and burritos. We get the crime trends of their culture as well. In fact, the perpetrator of the Phoenix kidnapping was captured while casually recrossing our fortress-like southern border after he had fled to Mexico. I hope this level of contempt for our laws, our country, and our citizens chaps your ass as much as it chaps mine. But hey, we're not content to flap our jaws about problems around here. We're fond of solutions. And one surefire way to get American kidnapping statistics heading in the right direction again is securing our wide-open southern border. Thanks for clicking in to this week's episode of the Blogs for Borders video blog burst. This week's show was sponsored by an Old Broad's Ramblings blog. Head on over for all things pro-life, pro-gun, pro-military, and pro-American. Any questions? And until next week, be vigilant, be vocal, and be unrelenting. We've got a country to save.